The complex choice for companies on being political or apolitical.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Amazon Business, aiming to help save time by offering smart business buying solutions so there's more time to focus on growing the business and less time doing the admin. More at AmazonBusiness.com.
I'm David Brancaccio in Los Angeles. First, the Democratic candidate for president, Kamala Harris, is set to speak in Pittsburgh today for what her campaign is billing as a major economic speech. The Republican candidate, Donald Trump, addressed the economy yesterday. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer joins us now. Nancy, let's start with Vice President Harris. She's been pressured to come up with more details on her economic plans. What might we hear today?
Well, in an email, a senior campaign official told me Harris will portray herself as for the middle class, contrasting her middle class upbringing with Donald Trump's background. The advisor said she plans to say, quote, "For Donald Trump, our economy works best if it works for those who own the big skyscrapers, not those who build them."
Any details of these economic plans yet?
The advisor didn't go into too many details, David, but did talk about what Harris calls an opportunity economy, and that involves things like lowering costs and investing in American innovation. The campaign says Harris will outline details on making sure the U.S., quote, leads the world in manufacturing.
And former President Trump spoke about the economy as well in Savannah, Georgia.
He did. Trump also talked about shoring up U.S. manufacturing. He says he would bring jobs back that were offshored to other countries.
With the vision I'm outlining today, not only will we stop our businesses from leaving for foreign lands, but under my leadership, we are going to take other countries' jobs.
But Trump didn't offer any specifics on how he would accomplish that, though.
Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer. Thank you. Markets, S&P futures are down less than 0.1%. NASDAQ futures are down 0.2%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Clear Channel Outdoor, an out-of-home billboard company that offers data-driven advertising solutions for businesses big and small. Billboardsforbusiness.com. And by Barron's Streetwise podcast, hosted by Barron's Associate Editor Jack Howe, offering insights each week on business leaders and trend spotters, available everywhere.
In the run-up to the election, we're looking at political polarization in America, specifically the role companies play in intensifying or easing political divides. This week, we heard the argument that companies should respectfully but firmly discourage on-the-job talk about politics and controversial issues. Today, the complex results when companies try that. Let's say hello to Allison Taylor, Executive Director of the think tank Ethical Systems, who teaches at the NYU Stern School of Business.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
It is a divided country. We know this from public opinion surveys. We know this from picnics with the extended family. Is this polarized environment a special challenge to businesses in your experience?
One thing that's very interesting is that up until about 2013 or 2014, we had a pretty clear consensus that business should not get involved in contentious political issues. There's that famous joke from the 90s, the Republicans buy sneakers too, Michael Jordan said. And then in 2018, 2019, there was a real rise in CEOs speaking up and taking positions on everything from climate change to immigration to human rights. And then, as we know, after Putin invaded Ukraine, lots of pressure on businesses to pull out of Russia. And since then, issues have become a lot more complicated, and I think leaders have become much more hesitant.
Well, there's that club of CEOs called the Business Roundtable that you well know. And some years ago, there was I think a path-breaking statement that they made that it's not just shareholder value. We have to consider many different groups of stakeholders, employees, the community, the earth. I got to say here in 2024, I'm not seeing that Business Roundtable pledge led to widespread change.
That statement was made in August 2019, and pretty immediately, a lot of academics pointed out that this statement did not seem to have much substance, not least because many of the CEOs had not consulted their boards or made formal governance changes before making this announcement. There's a reasonable argument that these CEOs would not have gone ahead and made this declaration if they'd known the pandemic was coming, and with it, all the scrutiny that we had on healthcare and labor rights and that kind of thing.
Now, I went into a bar in Dingle, Ireland once that had a sign over the bar that said, "No Trump talk." In other words, a ban on that type of discussion. I mean, companies, I guess, could try that. Don't talk politics in the workplace.
Well, some companies have tried that, and I got to say it did not work out very well for them. The obvious example is Basecamp, which is an interesting example, partly because the founders have also written books about how to have a great culture. And Basecamp banned political speech in the office. I think about a third of its workforce quit. But the actual speech it banned was the fact that the sales team had a list of customers with, quote, funny sounding names who are mainly Asian or African. And someone pointed out this might be racist. And that was the political speech that was banned.
By the way, Basecamp does software. I think they're based in Chicago, right?
That is correct. And at the same time, the CEO of Expensify in the run up to the 2020 election emailed all his customers saying, vote Biden, which is absolutely unthinkable even a decade earlier.
I was surprised in our reporting for this to learn that it's legal for companies to lean on their employees to vote certain ways. I mean, it can't be part of your formal performance review.
You know, I fear that we are galloping towards a world of red banks and blue banks and red mattress companies and blue mattress companies. And companies are already starting to need to have a state-by-state strategy on DEI and ESG issues because there's so much litigation going on at the state level. All of this is terrible for efficiency and it's terrible for business.
Allison Taylor is Executive Director of Ethical Systems. She also teaches at NYU's Business School. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me.
The example she cited about the software company Basecamp was from the spring of 2021. The company had directed employees to avoid discussing society and politics after that employee thread was discovered poking fun at customer names. Published reports at the time indicated that about a third of the company's employees did leave the firm because of the speech ban. The company's founders apologized and pledged to learn from the controversy. Political polarization at the company level. We call our series Office Politics. The pieces are accumulating at marketplace.org, where you can stream them if you like. In Los Angeles, I'm David Brancaccio. This is the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.